Jumping into paper test number 4 from the College Board site, it's going to contain Blue Book problems. This is going to be module 1 of math, part 1. So let's get rid of that. So starting off with number 1 here. And again, if you're looking for some of the more advanced problems, you can skip ahead. I will have them underlined as you're kind of scrolling through the video. So number 1, we have a group of students that voted on 5 after-school activities. Voted for each of the activities. How many students chose activity 3? So that one looks pretty easy. It looks like it's going to be between 35 and 40. So we just go with B here, right? Just a round estimate of what our range is going to be here. Jumping down to number 2, we have what percentage of 300 is 75. So, okay, we can just say, remember, a percentage is always going to be what we have out of our total. So we have 75 out of 300. And, you know, you could just throw this in your calculator. You could think, well, that just goes into it 4 times, right? 75 times 4 is going to equal 300. So it should be 25% because 4 of them fit into it, right? Again, not too bad. I would encourage you to use a calculator, though. Number 3 up here, as soon as I see this equal sign with a fraction on one side, I want to think cross multiply. So I'm thinking, okay, if I cross multiply this, I should get x squared multiplying this way, and then multiplying this way, it's going to be 25 times 36. And then, you know, to solve for my x, we would want to take the square root after we get that. So I would take the square root of this, and the square root of whatever number I get there, and I should get x is equal to, and let's see, so that number is going to be, it looks like it's going to be a perfect square, right? Because we get clean answers here. So 36 times 25, and it looks like it's going to be 30, right? Because that's going to be the square root of 900, and that's going to be 30 here. So again, not too bad here. The first and second page are usually going to be on the easier side. Even for the harder module 2, most of the problems in these first couple pages won't be too bad. So let's go ahead and finish 4 here. Let me just check this. So B, B, and A, yeah. And let's finish up with number 4 on this side. I'll move this over a little bit. So number 4, 3 more than 8 times the number x. Okay, so 3 more. So I'm already thinking plus 3. Then 8 times the number x. So 8x is equal to 83. This is going to be really important with kind of, you know, deriving our own equations, just being able to follow the context. So again, that's plus, that's multiplied is equal to 83. And we don't even have to solve it, I think. I think they just want the equation that represents this. So I'm just going to go through and kind of, you know, flag ones that don't make sense. That's saying 24x. That one, that's too much because, look, we'd be subtracting 3 from both sides. So we shouldn't be getting 86. And for this one, 3x plus 8, no, it should be 8x, right? And then here's our equation down below. So again, I always prefer trying to derive my equation than trying to follow their equations because it can get a little confusing, right? So it's going to be D for number 4. Let's jump to page 2. We'll probably be able to finish a couple of these pages because they're not too bad so far. And let me scroll down over here. Okay, number 5, we got our first word problem here. Deposited this fixed amount into our bank account each month. Okay, so again, we want to really understand their y equals mx plus b equations. This is going to be our initial, right? That 100 is going to represent, maybe I opened up a bank account and I deposited $100. And then this 25t is going to be, maybe I'm doing that every week, every month, etc., right? So the 100's a fixed amount I did once. And then the 25 is like a recurring or rate, right? So Hannah's bank account after T months. Okay, so that's going to represent every month. What is the best interpretation of 25? So like we just said, I want to know the equation before going through the context, right? So this is just what they're going to be depositing every month. So I look for an answer that matches that. With each monthly deposit, the amount in the bank account increases by $25. I think that's just going to be right? They try to word it in a little bit of a tricky way, but whatever amount's in there, if there's 100 and a month goes by, it increases by $25, right? Let's just go through the other answers just in case. So I see before Hannah made any monthly deposits, the amount in her bank was 100, right? So before the monthly deposits, B would actually be 100. After one monthly deposit, the amount in the bank account was 25, will actually be 125, right? it would be the 25 from the monthly deposit plus our initial amount. And Hannah made a total of 25 monthly deposits, so there's no numbers here indicating anything about D. So yeah, A for this one. Jumping down to number 6 here, a little short one. We're probably going to have to solve for something. Spent $27 to purchase oranges at $3 per pound. So I'm going to anticipate that they're going to ask, how many oranges did they maybe get, right? How many pounds of oranges, did the customer purchase? So again, if we spent 27 and it costs $3 per pound, this should tell us that, I think we bought 9 pounds of oranges, right? You're going to have all these little kind of problem solving ones in between your longer problems. I don't think that one's too bad. And then down here, number 9. Okay, another kind of purchasing one. We have this guy bought 9 storage bins that were each the same price. Okay, so whatever the price is, I want to expand it to all 9. He used a coupon for $63 off the entire purchase. So, okay, maybe we spent X, right? And that's going to total up all 9 that I've spent money on. And then we're going to subtract maybe 63 off this. So the cost for the entire purchase after using the coupon was $27. Okay, so this is going to get me $27. This is like how much I spent. This is my coupon. And then this is how much it would have originally cost. So I just have to think, okay, well, how much would it have been before my coupon, right? So I do 63 plus 27, and that's going to get me 30 plus 60. So I think it would have been $90 to start. But they wouldn't have given us the 9 bins for no reason, right? So I'm going to check that in the context. What was the original price for 1 storage bin? So 90 for total. I would divide that by the 9 total storage bins, and it should be $10 per storage bin, right? So again, not too bad. These first couple pages of like problem solving, word problems. And let's see what else they got. I see number 8 here. Let's move this over, and I do see a table. Okay, maybe we can do some Desmos practice, but let's see what's going on. So for the linear function above, we see 3 values. Which equation defines x? So again, for your math class, just in case, you might need to know how to solve this without Desmos, right? So if we have 2 points, we can always find the equation of a line. So I would just say, okay, remember, this is an xy coordinate. This is an xy coordinate. We always have to start with slope. So to get my slope, it's going to be change in y over change in x. You might remember it as like y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So I would just take my bigger point. So I'd get 32 minus 29 over 1 minus 0. And that should get me 3 over 1, or my m is equal to 3, right? So already I have my answer, right? We're only going to have one with a slope of 3, but just in case you had to get your y-intercept as well, I would just re-plug it into my y equals mx plus b. So I say, okay, y is equal to, but we know the m is 3, x plus b, and then we take one of our points from above, right? So I would just take the 0, 29. If that's 0, that cancels out, and if y was 29, well, my b would be 29, right? So my y-intercept, my slope, a is going to be correct here. But just in case, let's open up Desmos real fast, because Desmos is going to help us on, I would say every single time I see a table, I'm going to be using Desmos. So let me get it pulled up here. And we're going to want to know how to not just, graph stuff, but put in tables, use the functions, etc. So let's see if this pulls up here. And let's move it a little bit off to the right. And yeah, so you see this little plus sign here. I'm going to go ahead and add in a table. And my points are going to be 0, 29 and 132. And then once I have my points typed in, I'm just going to go over to these 4 dots with a line here and click that. And there's my equation. So you can see how easy it is to use Desmos. Again, I still think it's useful to know how to do it by hand, for your math classes, for other things. But on the SAT, we're doing it this way instantly, right? And let's hide that for now. Jumping down from number 8 here, we got 9. I could probably shift this over a little bit, yeah. A triangle one. Let's see what they can challenge us with here. So I have 2 right triangles, and they look similar too, right? Similar is just going to be equal angles, not necessarily equal sides, but proportional, right? So what that would mean is if this is 3 and this is 1, and we know that this is 6, well, we would know this is 2 because there's some, or actually, sorry, that would be 9 and, oh yeah, no, that's correct, yeah. There'd be a proportion here of like times 3, right? Multiply my smaller triangle by 3 on each side, and I should get the same sides for my bigger triangle. So where P corresponds to S, if the measure of angle Q, so remember what we said, while the sides can be different, our angles are going to be equal. So if Q is 18, T is going to be 18. And just for the sake of it, we could solve for our other angles. This one's just going to be complementary, so it has to add up to 90 degrees. So I think that would just be 72, and this would also be 72. So again, they tell us angle Q, and they want S. So S is just going to be 72. So, you know, I kind of just like getting extra practice, so I solved for it anyway. A lot of times, though, they'll also ask just for angle T, because they'll ask for the one that kind of matches up. But yeah, these triangle ones usually not too bad. And we'll probably try to finish up this last page here. Looking at number 10 here, it looks like we're just dealing with a graph. And I'll scroll up a little bit here. Okay, let's see what we got. Shows the relationship between two variables, x and y. Yep, we have our x-axis, our y-axis. Which of the following is the most appropriate linear model? So again, whenever they show scatter plots, just think of it like a line going through close to the center of the points. And this is, again, just going to be practicing our y equals mx plus b. What is my y-intercept is one thing I always want to focus on. And then what is my slope? Positive, negative, right? So my slope looks like it's going to be negative here. So I go down below and I'm looking at what's connected to my x, right? So I see 2 that are positive, so I'm going to get rid of those 2, A and C. And then now I'm looking at which one has this positive 10 or close to 10 y-intercept. This one has a positive 0.9, this one has a positive 10. So it looks like it's going to be D for number 10. And again, I'm just going off my y-intercept and my slope connotation, right? So again, not too bad. Number 11 down here. Let me scroll down on my other page. Okay. So looks like we have a little word problem. We have a B and an R. So between the number of birds and the number of reptiles that could be cared for at a pet care business. Okay. So it's like a balancing equation. If I have more R's, right? If I have more reptiles, my birds is going to have to be smaller to still equal 80 here. If the business cares for 16 reptiles, how many birds can it care for? So this one's not too bad. As long as I understand what my R and my B stand for, all I'm going to say is, okay, I see the R, I'm going to plug in 16 there, and 5 times 16, I'm going to throw my 80. So I'm just going to rewrite my equation, right? And that's just going to be kind of practicing algebra. Now let me get a different color here. Okay, so 5 times 16, so it looks like it's going to be 50 and 30. So actually, I think that already gets us to 80, doesn't it? So if that already gets us to 80, and then I have 2.5b. So if there are 16 reptiles here, my birds is going to have to be 0. So they must be taking up a lot of resources. So I think our answer is just going to be A here. If you would graph this, it seems like you would have my extreme for my R being 16, and then my B would have to be 0. And then for B, it looks like it would probably reach 32 because it takes half as many resources, right? Only 2.5 as opposed to the 5 for reptiles. So yeah, not too bad again. We got a couple more decent looking ones here. We have a graph in number 12. Let's see what's going on in 12 here. So what is an equation of the graph shown? So again, what I said with, let's look at the 2 most basic things first, and that will probably get rid of most of our answers. I have a y-intercept of -8, and I also see that my slope is negative. It looks like they did us a favor. All of our equations here are in y or slope-intercept form. So I look for negative slopes. Okay, that one's good. This one positive, this one negative, this one also positive. So I get rid of those 2. And then I look at A and C, and they both have a -8 y-intercept. So we actually do have to do a little bit of solving here. One of them is saying my slope is -2, one is -1, right? So is my slope dropping 2 y's per x, right? Remember that my slope is just change in y over change in x. So if it's -2 over 1, again, my y would be kind of declining twice as much as my x is moving. So I would move 2 y's for every x, 2 y's for every x. And you can see that I'm hitting my -8 on my x-axis and my -8 on my y-axis. So it looks like it's just 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, right? Or rather, those are by 2's, but 2, 2, 2, 2. So it looks like our slope is just going to be 1 or -1, going down 1, over 1, down 1, over 1. So yeah, not too bad again. And then my final 2 problems here. Number 13, let's see what's going on here. If x over 8 is equal to 5, what is the value of 8 over x? So for this one, I'll just solve for x, right? It's just going to be basic algebra. Anytime I see a fraction and an equal sign, I'm going to cross multiply. So I get x is equal to 40. And then now that I know x is equal to 40, I know that 8 over 40, and that you can throw in your calculator if you want, it's going to be 8 fits into 45 times. So this is going to be 1/5 or 0.2, whatever you want to type in on your SAT. Both would work here. And then finally, a system of equations, which by this point I hope we're experts on, right? Anytime I see this system of equations and there aren't any extra variables, I throw it in Desmos. So let's go ahead and pull up Desmos for our last problem here. And there it is. I'm just going to scroll down for a second. Let's go ahead and type in 24x plus y. Oops, they don't like caps. 24x plus y is equal to 48. And 6x plus y is equal to 72. And again, I'm always just looking for my intersection point. So let's go ahead and zoom out. And there it is. Let's zoom back in. And my intersection point looks like it's going to be, okay, we're going to have a little bit of a decimal here. So let's type this in real fast. I'll write down -1.33 just for the sake of it right now. And then 80 for my y. And I'll jump back to here. And they ask for our y, right? So I'll label each of these real quick. X and y, and they want my y value or my 80 here. So really not too bad. The first 3 pages we flew through. It'll probably slow down a little bit because as you can see, we go through here. The ones I have underlined are going to be a little bit harder. Ones I see students make, more mistakes on. So as we see more underlining, especially the triple underlining, that's one of the better problems right there. It'll take us longer, which is good. You want to spend more time breaking down, going through these kind of harder problems, and we'll be jumping back tomorrow with part 2.